my scrappy friends, this is Hannah with you today, and I am sharing with you September for the Love of Homemade Kits layout with my kit from September. So I wished I had thought to put the image of what was in the kit, but I didn't. So I am thinking that I'm gonna do something a little bit weird. When do I never do? When do I not do something different and weird? I don't know. But anyway, so I am going to take this piece of pattern paper, which is super pretty, and I'm going to try to roll it. I don't know if it would have been better to roll it if it was cut better than ripped, because I did rip it. I don't know. But this is like Cardabella or something like that paper, and it is super thick and textured, so I had a really hard time rolling this, but I really like how it turned out because you can see the lines from the other side because it has the lines, so it's a lined paper and on the other side, so it's super fun. It took forever because I did use a little bit of ATG. I don't know if you noticed that, but I did use a little bit of ATG, and then when I rolled it, it only stayed so much. So I do put some glue on it in a minute, and you're going to see me start the process of holding it down. So basically, I had to hold it for like a half an hour while the glue dried because I didn't have enough stuff to put on it that was weighty enough that wasn't going to squish it. Because I didn't want it squished. I wanted it to look. I'm just laughing at myself because, I try these things that are super fun. And it turned out, but it's a labor of love. You really have to put your time into it. So this is me kind of holding it. I put my ATG on it. I do this. But really, I ended up just having to hold it with my hands in the areas that the glue wasn't sticking all the way together until it really stuck and dried enough. And actually I'm going to go back. I check it. It's not done. I think I'm going to do that. I actually, like I said, I had to go back and just hold it. I used a little bit more glue at this point after I put a white border around this photo because I want to use this photo and it's quite busy. Just like that pattern is quite busy, which is why I only did it on around half of that paper. I thought about using this either as a layer behind my photo or to map my photo in it. In the end, I'm going to keep it here. I am going to move it up quite a bit, so not so much as hanging off. But I do kind of play around with some different things. So I know I've said this. I'm going to say it again. I almost never have a full idea of what I want to do on my layouts when I start. I just sit down and I go, okay, what do I feel like doing? And it works for me, generally. Sometimes. I find that if I'm in the groove of creating layouts and and there's not a lot of craziness in my life, which, who doesn't have craziness in your life? So if I have time to think about things throughout the day and think about what kind of stuff do I want to do? How am I going to get inspired? I usually can come up with these things a lot quicker. Just I'm sitting here, I'm looking at it, I'm I'm not really sure. And I'm I don't know. So yeah, I'm going to cut it down. Just use a little teeny tiny bit, and I'm going to put it underneath because I really do like that contrast of that tealy minty color with that. I think I do use a little bit of that, and then I flip it and use the other side. And I did this with another layout recently where I used the same pattern and just did 2 double layers. But I decided to flip the paper over because it had a sky background and it had some of the blue tealy minty colors that sort of looked like those pumpkins and leaves on there. So I'm going to go with that because why not? It's going to add just enough of something to kind of, so you see those layers, but they do still kind of go back. So I need something else that is going to help not completely have everything meld into that background, because there is a lot of pattern there. And I feel like this is why I don't tend to use patterns for my whole background, because if you're not careful, things will just melt and you'll lose your photo. And I mean, the whole point is the photo with the story. So yeah. So I use some of that vellum, and I do feel like that helps. It's hard to see, I feel like, when I'm watching this. So just trust me, when you see it in real life, it does kind of help it quite a bit. And then I'm going to add a piece of this wood that goes further along. So this is going to really help break up, because it's more of a solid. It's like if you have a whole bunch of pattern on top of each other, you could easily lose things, especially when the colors are similar. And these colors are all really similar. When I put the kit together, I knew I was doing that. But sometimes when you put a kit together and you have similar colors, they work really well. But then when you go to make a layout with them, they don't always read well on top of each other. So that is the key, is to make sure that you add some kind of solid or something like this small piece, and it's not very thick. I thought about using a thicker piece, but in the end I just used like that little teeny tiny strip, and I really do think that that helps so much more, because it goes all the way across. Well, I didn't cut it all the way across. I left a little bit on the edges, but it reads all the way across, and so it breaks it up just enough with the vellum, and I think it does a trick. And now you can see the photo. I thought about adding maybe some of this paper, and I don't. Because now I'm just trying to think what else I need to put stuff on here. So I find this card. I actually really like that card there. I should have left it. I did not. I don't. I take it off at some point and not use it. But it would have really worked well. But I didn't keep it. So I'm going to look through some of these pieces that I have. I think they're Pink Fresh Studio. I could be wrong. I think they're Pink Fresh Studio. And I find this banner, and it has a similar color, and so I'm going to go with that. I find these are all things that I picked out for this kit. And, you know, this is why I use a lot of different stuff, because I know I'm going to go through and I'm not going to know what layouts I'm going to make with it, because I don't pick out my photos with a kit. Now, with that said, sometimes it is nice to have in mind some photos when you put a kit together. I did not do that with this one, and that's okay. I know I want to use that strip, and I'm going to put it here, and it's going to move around, and you'll see. But I'm really just trying to find some little things that I can use as some clusters. I really like that there's that big open space. It's a lot of white space, and it is going to be helpful for building a cluster on there. I'm just not exactly sure what I want to use, but I'm going to get there. But first we're going to do the title, because when in doubt, when you can't think of something and you're not sure, work on a title. Switch it up. Like if you're trying to, you know, put clusters together and it's not working, build a title, or figure out where you want your journaling. Do that. And then come back, and usually it will flow from there. And I find that that really helps. It just kind of redirects your brain. And because sometimes, I don't know if this happens to you, but this happens to me. Sometimes I get in a rut because I'm so focused on like, oh, what is going to go well together? What really works? And sometimes it's like you get in that rut that you're just not thinking enough out of the box, or you're thinking so much on it. It's just like, we're super focused that it's harder to build stuff. So working on that part of the title is going to help me, because now I'm like, oh yeah, I have these labels. I can put this here. And then in a little while, I'm going to find a little chipboard piece that is going to work perfectly. And I move that around, and I move that seeds little thing. I didn't really like the way that one label was working. I thought it looked a little funky. And I thought about like just putting it back on the sheet, but I was like, hey, I can use this for a later layer. So I moved some of it under and some of it over, and I really like how that looked. It just kind of added one more thing to that little layer cluster behind. And then I'm using a different alpha for the rest of the title. And it's just going to say loads of gourds. I don't know. Sometimes, guys, I'm like, I just want to be cheeky and funny. And this is not cheeky, but it just sounded like it would be a fun title. So we're going with it. We're going with loads of gourds. There are sort of gourds in here. They're mostly pumpkins and squashes. We're just gonna, so this is where we go to the pumpkin patch, in one of the pumpkin patches in our area. There's tons, and they just have these big, like, cardboard flats of pumpkins and squashes and gourds and all these, like, amazing produce-y pumpkin squash like stuff. And it is so pretty in the fall time. It is so pretty. I can't wait to go this year. I don't know how much of all that stuff will be there, because I imagine it'll be a lot smaller, just because Washington has been really strict with COVID, and so they're cutting back a lot of what you can do in the fall time as far as agriculture, which is really sad because, you know, they spend all summer working on planning, and they get a lot of revenue when people come to the pumpkin patches and pick up other things besides just pumpkins. I mean, we usually get a pumpkin too, but so, okay, so I worked on that bottom cluster as I was talking about gourds here. And I'm just trying to figure out how I want to put that. I don't like the 4, so I know I'm going to cover that up. I'm just going to use that in my mind's eye. I really like having the 2 little seed packet things up at the top. It's kind of fun, and the colors are really similar. So, and I thought about adding 1 more because, you know, 3 is better than 2. But I just didn't like it there. So guess what? We're just going to use 2. We're going to be okay. We're going to break the rules here. And I think it's okay. I think it works. I did, however, like when I was working on that title, I had a hard time finding the F on that sheet because it's in cursive, but it doesn't look like an F. Even though now it kind of looks like an F, but when I was looking at it, it didn't really. So I did have to glue a lot of, like, those pumpkins and that chipboard down because, so see, there I am trying to use it again. I think sometimes I just get stuck in using it. So I did have 2 of those buttons from my mind's eye. The one you can't see very well because it is there, but it is similar colors to what's on the layout except for some pink. But, I mean, there's pink there. See, I'm trying, and I could have left it there, but I wanted some of that pink up at the top to show on both sides. So I'm just going to finish this off with enamel dots because why not? When in doubt, enamel dot it. Or sequins. That works too. And I could have used sequins. I probably have a whole bunch. Well, I know I have a whole bunch, but I probably had some that would have worked really well. But it's okay. So I'm just going to use some enamel dots, and I'm going to try to find some different colors that are in my, like, on the layout and in that paper, because there are a lot of different colors to pick from. So I wanted to also make sure I used some oranges because, like, there's not many times that I would use an orange enamel dot. So I wanted to make sure I got some of those on there. It'll help use up my sheets in the end. So yeah. So thank you guys for joining me today. This is layout number 2 with this kit. I'm hoping to get 1 more layout, and I know we're like really close to the end of the month, but I'm hoping I can get 1 more layout done. I will probably keep my kit together, and October's kit is we have the recipe already, so we'll be sharing that on the 1st, and I don't have my kit built, but the recipe is all done. So be on the look for that. And if you join my Patreon, if you didn't know I had one, you can get sneak peeks of the stuff that I'm going to be posting to YouTube before. So just what the layout's going to look out. And then you also can Maybe I'll start to add some For the Love of Homemade Kits stuff in there that's special, that's different. I don't know, we'll see. But yeah, I'd love for you to come join me over there. If not, that's fine. I'll have plenty of stuff here on YouTube. And thank you guys for joining me, and have a great, great day. Bye.